President Trump's campaign is now taking legal action against Omarosa, the former Trump White House advisor, former campaign advisor, for breaching a 2016 non-disclosure agreement with the Trump campaign over this whole publicity tour rollout of her book. CNN's Jeremy Diamond is at the White House right now with the details. Jeremy, what do we know?
Well, it appears that Trump World is finally striking back against Omarosa after several days during which she's embarked on this publicity tour, sharing some details from her new tell-all book about times during the campaign and in the White House. The Trump campaign has now filed for arbitration against Omarosa, accusing her of breaching this non-disclosure agreement that she reportedly signed during the 2016 campaign. Here's the statement from a Trump campaign official, which says, Donald J. Trump for President, Inc. has filed an arbitration against Omarosa Newman with the American Arbitration Association in New York City for breach of her 2016 confidentiality agreement with the Trump campaign. This is the first legal move that we've seen from the Trump campaign or from any part of Trump World, frankly, in response to Omarosa's new book and the allegations that she is making against the president and revealing private conversations that she had with Trump campaign aides, oftentimes backed up by audio recordings that she made apparently without the knowledge of the other people involved here. It is notable, though, how the campaign is going about this. What we've seen in the past when they've tried to go after non-disclosure agreements that they say have been violated, they filed cease and desist letters. They've started legal action by directly suing individuals involved. Sam Nunberg, for example, was one of them during the 2016 campaign. So this is a little bit of a different step. It's not quite as forceful as a lawsuit, but it is filing for arbitration to try and get the parties in a room with a third-party mediator here to discuss this breach and see what the next steps forward are.
All right, Jeremy, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Let me bring back Shan Wu, who stuck around for us with this breaking news. Shan, what does this mean that they're filing with arbitration?
Yeah, it's interesting. It may be that her non-disclosure agreement with the campaign has a mandatory arbitration provision. That's very common nowadays, since it's accepted that arbitration moves a little bit more quickly and is less cumbersome than having to start a lawsuit where you have delay with motions, discovery. So it may be sort of a shortcut, and that's why they have to first do the arbitration. I think it's also really interesting to note that since she rejected signing a new NDA, they're relying on the one from the campaign, and a potential issue would be, what was the sunset clause on that? Would it end when the campaign ended? Or they're arguing, of course, that she's also breaching confidences from the campaign. So a lot of potential issues to kind of dissect with this.
Would it be reasonable if there was no sunset on it? It was just for forever. You can't say anything and you can't, I mean, is that within the realm of possibility?
They often do have that in terms of the sunset of the time limit. I think a substantive question might be arguing that she is only prohibited from talking about the campaign issues, and she's under no obligation or restriction on what happened in the White House.
Do you think this will work? Would you think this will affect, I mean, if you had to guess without, of course, we haven't seen the NDA. There's a whole lot of things we don't know, Shan, but welcome to it. Do you think that this is a possibility that this could stop her from releasing any other tapes?
You know, legally it could, but I think the posture she's in, she's probably going to take a hard line and just keep at it and let the chips fall where they may.
Thanks, Shan. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Maybe bring back in Chris Salizzi. Jump back in the chair for me, Chris. What do you make of this? This sure sounds like that Trump world, they are taking this very seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in some ways, Kate, we knew this based on Trump's tweets. I always tell people, watch his tweets. That's what he cares about, what he's focused on. We've had 8 Trump tweets on Omarosa over the last 24 hours. So this was not something that he was sort of dismissing. The other thing I would say is, remember what we know about Donald Trump. This is someone who is quite litigious and has been his whole life.
Right, but Chris, he also says he never settles, and he does.
Absolutely. And by the way, I was going to add, Kate, he also says he's suing people, and he doesn't. Let's remember, Donald Trump, during the 2016 campaign, promised repeatedly he would bring lawsuits for defamation against more than a dozen women who said he acted inappropriately with them. He hasn't brought any of those lawsuits as far as I know. And remember, there was some legal back and forth related to Michael Wolff's book, Fire and Fury, as the Trump campaign tried to shut some of that down. So this is not a strategy we have not seen both Donald Trump in the White House and then Donald Trump more broadly as a politician and as a person. So I don't think it's terribly surprising. And by the way, another thing we know about Donald Trump, he really loves those non-disclosure agreements. So none of this is all that shocking. It does ramp things up. I'm with Shan. I think the likeliest thing here is Omarosa is in some ways a manifestation of Donald Trump. I think the most likely thing you will see is what would Donald Trump do if faced with arbitration over allegations he was making? He'd probably just keep going. My guess is that's what Omarosa will do.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Thanks, Shan.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate you guys. Thanks for jumping on.